So when Rain asked me to do this, I of course said yes, but it was sort of a challenge for me to come up with what story to go after. So I'm also a CFP. I don't have all of Keith's letters after his name because he's super smart. I'm a CFP and part of a family firm. My mother started it back in the 80s. So, but we come at everything from a very holistic place. We also manage the investments and insurance and all that boring stuff. But in terms of storytelling and bringing that into a financial health sort of plot line, I thought, well, I could do women in the industry. As Keith pointed out, we are few and far between. I could do family business something. I could do kind of impact investing that we're associated with, all different kinds of things that come from a very personal place but manifest themselves in what we do in the community and with our clients. But the one that kept coming up, which I really didn't want to talk about because I talk about it all the time, and anybody who knows me has heard it before, but it kept coming up because of the health aspect of everything that's going on with this series. So my father is the main subject of that and the relationship with my father, but it brings in mental health and physical health and financial health, which is where we come at it for today. But my parents, I work with my mother, but my mother and father divorced when I was a kid, and he was a parent, not the parent. And anybody who has divorced parents knows that there is one that is the parent, the bad guy, the one that's keeping you on track, whatever. And then there's the hopefully at least fun one. But he wasn't financially responsible for us or anything like that. He was where we went to go play. And he, made good money. He was in wine sales, so people are always buying booze. And he did pretty well for himself. And everything's going along swimmingly until go back to maybe 2011, I'll say. My husband and I, Rain's brother, got married in 2011, and it was about a year after that the proverbial shit started to hit the fan. So he had always been a drinker, but I didn't realize to what extent he was a drinker. And he always was loosey-goosey with everything. He's the person with 5 TVs in the house, and they're all on, and every light is on 24 hours a day. Don't talk to him about recycling. That means you have to think about what trash can. He doesn't do any of the things that are really important to me. And this will tie back to financial aspects, not just pain in the butt aspects. But so he went through a second divorce that was a disaster. And he had a lot of health problems. So I was having to go up to Kentucky and take care of him, and it was just a nightmare after nightmare, and I won't go on and on. I could talk for 2 days about the drama there, but it all fell on me. So I'm the older sister. I have a younger sister who is helps out more with the health piece of it, but at that time she wasn't, she was too young. So I think he has really poor health, and poor dad, and I need to step up and be the elder child and be responsible. And by the way, I work in this world where I know and I have to help my clients frequently navigate this kind of chaos. And so when I really got into it, his drinking was incredibly worse than I ever thought. And all the health problems that were coming up were not health problems. They were drinking problems manifesting themselves as health problems. And the reason we know that is because he's completely sober now. He's the healthiest he's ever been. So that brings in the health piece, but a lot of that came from this mental instability that he had. So I start to take over a little bit of what's going on and focusing on keeping his house in Kentucky so he could sell it appropriately, not just walk away from it, keeping him in his house here. And it's still on the top of, it's still okay. He's still kind of working, whatever. And this is a man who was making probably $350,000 in the height of his day. And then it starts to get worse, a little bit here, a little bit here, a little bit here. And the next big kind of pivot point or whatever is that he got in a DUI, accident. He hit somebody, so he got a DUI. And when we went into the house, so you can imagine that there is challenges. We're not really talking, we're not interacting in any kind of real way. And once I realized how bad the drinking was, I got mad. I got mad because now it was all coming back on me. So when the accident happened, thankfully no one was severely hurt. Everybody was okay. The car was totaled, but whatever. I didn't go to the hospital to see him. I let him do his thing, right? But I did go. They forced him to stay there for a while. And then it was determined that he was starting to have dementia because of this. So to get him into a semblance of what life would be called from this very tragic place, we put him into a medically induced coma at Duke for 2 weeks because he would have died if he tried to sober up without that. So while he was there, so he had the accident and he didn't come home again and then there was rehab, physical rehab, so it was about a month. My sister and I went into the house that I hadn't really been in for a really long time, and it was disgusting. Everything was turned off. Like, I didn't know his electricity was cut off. He had not been paying his bills. He had not been working. He'd been telling us he's working, but he was taking out different loans and different loans and different loans. So, and using the credit cards and just living off of, he just wasn't eating. He was just drinking. It was just like, it's very tragic, but the financial piece of it is that I realized in that moment that aside from being so angry, so guilt-ridden, so sad, so upset about the whole situation, I was really frustrated with myself because this is what I do for a living. I help people. Yes, we do investments and all the boring stuff, but what I really do, much like what Keith was talking about, is we sit with families and business partnerships and couples and all different kinds of partnerships and help people navigate the really hard discussion that finance can bring up. Even if you're talking about basic paying the mortgage and paying the car and all the things that we all have to do, everything with money, everything is associated with emotion. There's an emotion, and it's different for you, to you, to you, to you. I don't care. No, somebody tried to argue that point to me. I could go on forever. So I was really frustrated that I was in a place where I let this happen in my family when this is not only my profession, but my mother's profession. And when I say my dad had nothing at that point, thank goodness I make a decent income because all of my resources got rerouted to him to keep him literally off the streets or in my house. And he's a little bananas, so I couldn't have him living with me. So there is a challenge there aside from all the other things. So I did what I know to do best at work, and I went into work mode. And this is where we help all of you, if you all come, is that I say, okay, we're going to make checklists and we're going to get all the data and we'll sift through it and we'll come up with a timeline and structure and organize and get that put together so that you just baby step your way out of this problem and from a negative into a positive. There is always the capacity for that movement when it comes to this financial structure, restructuring, whatever. I never believe that everything is all lost. So I went into that mode, and I literally did not really engage with my father. I let my sister do most of that and take over the doctor's appointments. She's a scientific smarty pants. She reads medical journals for fun, so I let her do that. But I was his financial power of attorney, his medical power of attorney. I also, all the bills, so because I was power of attorney, my name started to get attached to things, and then I had to fight my own credit. They were done wrong. And so I ended up paying off about $70,000 worth of his debt. I ended up keeping him in his current house. We sold the one in Kentucky. That was, thank you very much, in 2009. So we had to come to the table with $85,000. So, and meanwhile, my husband, who, as we mentioned, has a catering company, and that just sucks money all the time. So it's not like there's, we're like super wealthy people. It was doing the things, the slow and steady, calm, keep your eye on the prize thing that I have to do for clients. So we made it through. We're all okay. We have boundaries. My dad now knows how to text. Instacart is a lovely service. They will deliver groceries to your crazy dad. Uber will drive him around. We have all these wonderful things that do cost a little bit, but what they save in my mental well-being, priceless. But I think the reason that this story kept coming up is because it obviously was a lot for me, and thankfully I do own my own business, so there were times I was gone for an entire week, practically, navigating a lot of this, and if you are going to a job, you might not be able to do that. So I also beg all of you, if you're around people who have family things going on, empathize. It is a real struggle, and people will come out the other side. But I think that the real reason that I wanted to tell this story here is because if I had done what I preach to clients, to be proactive and have the family meeting, have the sit down when you can feel that things are starting to be a thing. You can feel it start. I knew that there was a thing going on, right? And it's going to be uncomfortable. Bring in professionals if you need it. We're like half mediators, half financial advisors, whatever. Bring in another family member if they're somebody that'll help. If you're literally in a business partnership, hire their true mediators, somebody, because the brick wall is down there somewhere, and shit only rolls downhill. And it will hit that at some point, and so you need to be ready for whatever, even if it's a little tiny problem, like you lose your job, or do you have enough to sustain your basic lifestyle for 6 months? That's, if you don't, there could be, it can snowball into these bigger things, and so hopefully it's not as tragic as getting your crazy dad out of a bunch of debt when you're really mad at him. But I think that the marriage of financial health, mental health, physical health, all the pillars of health come together, and unfortunately, whether we like it or not, the quote is accurate, because money does not buy you happiness, but it sure helps, and it can hurt really bad when you don't have it and you're trying to navigate a lot of things, especially if you don't have the professional knowledge to do some of the things that I had to go through. So I guess always be prepared, all those kinds of things. Cash savings helps. Don't overspend, all those kinds of things. But make it be okay to have, even if little tiny conversations, little tiny pieces of that. When you start to see someone failing, I think it happens more often when the parent becomes the child. And participate. Don't say it'll be okay, because you may never have a relationship at all after that. So that's my story on financial health.